Hi everyone, I'm Carly. I am a cross-stitcher, a knitter, a natural dyer, general crafty person. Um, I am on Instagram as VeggieStitches and here on FlossTube as well. This is my first FlossTube, or it's my first FlossTube that I'm publishing or sharing publicly. I've been watching FlossTube since about September of last year and making my own since like December, but wasn't really interested in publishing them at the time. It just didn't feel like the right time. But it's been a really fun way for me to kind of keep track of my progress and feel like I'm talking to someone about stitching because there's no one really in my life who also stitches. I do have some people who are interested in my stitching that I talk to, but it's not quite the same. So yeah, as my first floss tube, I guess I can share a little bit about myself, show you what I've been working on, some finishes, and whatever else comes up. So I started cross stitching in about 2018. I first got into it through like subversive cross stitch. I had kind of stumbled upon that several years before and thought it was the funniest thing ever. I really liked that juxtaposition of vulgarity and this craft that up until that point I had sort of associated with like very dainty, ladylike sort of stereotypes. My taste in what I like to stitch and kind of stitching that I am drawn to has changed since then. I do still appreciate kind of that sentiment though, and we may see that incorporated into some of my work. Maybe not today, but some work in the future. I have plans for other pieces I want to stitch and how I want to kind of make them my own. So stay tuned. So yeah, I was doing a lot of that. Didn't really know that there were other cross stitch patterns out there. I was vaguely aware, but it held zero interest for me. I wasn't really seeking it out. And then I found FlossTube and it was all over from there. I have stitched pretty much every single day since I started watching FlossTube. There has been a marked change in my spending habits in that I willingly spend money now. I've actually like paused watching FlossTube for a while because I need to rein it in. And there's just so many beautiful things out there. So it's, yeah, FlossTube will change your life for better or for worse. And I don't know. What I like about FlossTube, there's a lot of things. I think YouTube subcultures in general, I think are really interesting, even if they're ones that I'm not necessarily a part of. I love to like every once in a while, if I stumble upon a new one, just like go down these rabbit holes and sort of like watch some from different creators and like learn a little bit more like an anthropologist. And so just in general, like that's interesting to me. There's the added benefit that this is something I'm interested in, so that's cool. And then it brings me back to the days, like the wild, wild west of YouTube back in the like mid 2000s when YouTube first started. And everybody was like vlogging from their webcam. We had no fancy cameras at the time for vlogging. It was like one take. It was, I think the time limit was like around 8 minutes, and so it was just people talking straight to the camera with no cuts. And you would do video replies to people too. Like you used to be able to, instead of leaving a comment on a video, you could leave a video reply. So I get those kind of vibes from from FlossTube videos. It just brings me back to the good old days when you could watch like full-length movies on YouTube and not pay for them, but you had to watch it in like 6 parts because they would break it up into chunks because there was a time limit for how many minutes you could upload. Anyway, I've been on YouTube for a while. Never posted like a vlog or anything like that, but it's been very interesting to watch it change over time, and FlossTube kind of brings me back to the early days when things were simpler, and it felt like people knew each other, kind of. Like it was weird to be a YouTuber in a way that it isn't now. So anyway, yeah, so I really like stitching. Oh, what is her name? I think her name's Lori from Not Forgotten Farms. Farm, singular, has used the term primsicle to describe her work. I've never stitched any of her patterns. A lot of them are on my like wish list. But I do really like that kind of prim, but like a little bit funky kind of aesthetic. But I've also found I really like doing sort of geometric-y type things. I'm a knitter first and foremost. Well, not so much anymore, but like that's one identity that I feel like I hold very dear to my heart is knitting, because I started when I was like 11. I taught myself. It was an identifier for me for a long time. And I love the like meditative repetition of knitting. So if I'm stitching a piece and there's a pattern that's repetitive, it kind of gets me in a similar zone where I don't have to look at the chart. I can just, and it looks good, and it just feels really nice to be doing it over and over and over instead of just like in one line. But I do not mind that either. Yeah, so anything else I want to share right now? I don't think so, except for let me show you what I have. Okay, so this is my first cross stitch. Is it my first cross stitch FFO? It might be my second because I gave one to a friend. Anyway, so this is called Forest at Night by Stitchy Princess. She is on Etsy, and she regularly has sales. If you purchase from her, she'll send you discount codes. Very affordable and very cute. Sorry, sometimes when I film on photo booth, the bottom cuts off, so I want to try to make sure. Oh. No. That glare is not great. Anyway, so I had this dream of stitching this in glow in the dark floss. I didn't have any at the time, so I just used this like white loops and threads from Michaels. And I like it. I like it. What really drew me to this piece was this moon. Oh, I love it. So what I ended up doing, I'm looking over here because I realized there's another piece I need to show you that's kind of hanging up. I did use this moon in another piece, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this is stitched on 14 count. It's Ada. I think it's Witchelt. It's just black Ada, and then again the white is loops and threads for Michaels. I cut this mat board myself using a slightly dull X-Acto knife. Don't do that. So I wish it was a little bit thicker, but for my first framing, I think I did a great job. Okay, so that is my FFO of the video. Let me show you 1 second. Alrighty. Ooh. This was my Forest at Night inspired, I guess you could call it a bell pull. It's obviously not fully finished just yet. I need to trim these little bits and these little bits, but this was the original moon, and then I modified the pattern to have eyes open and eyes closed, and I did use glow in the dark floss on this, so I have it hanging up in a way where it faces my bed, so when it's time for bed, I can look over, I see these 3 little faces just glowing at me in the dark. I love this one so much. My goal, or like my vision for an FFO is to mount it on like a piece of dark wood, like thin wood that maybe I stain, or maybe there's some just laying around. Um, like tack it on there. Doot, doot. Um, and so have the border be like wood, and then hang a little chain on it, and then hang it over the switch plate in my room. I think that would be really cool. So, love it. Okay, so that's a finish. Do I have any other? Oh, I have. Yeah, I'll share this one. So I have a recent finish in a series. I don't think I'll show the full series today, but I'll just give you a sense of this one. So this is Beltane by The Primitive Hare. Oh, it's so tiny. This was stitched on 28 count linen-ish from Michaels. I don't know. It came in a roll in a like plastic box thing. I don't really care for it, but that's okay. In the called for-ish DMC, she has a lot of like Wheel of the Year type patterns available. The series I'm doing is free and it's on her website. So there it is again. This is, yeah, 1/1 on 28 count linen. When I started this series, I was still fairly new to stitching, so I don't think I meant to do one. Well, I was doing 2/1, which was awful as a beginner stitcher, at least for me. But with every single one, this is the 4th one in this series, I've continued to like learn more. And I'm stitching like other stuff at the same time, so I'm picking up like techniques and recognizing things that I enjoy and I like, and incorporating them into this work. So it's kind of a fun like timeline to see my skill level build over time when I look at these. And maybe I'll show the rest in another video, but just, yeah, looking at the first one to even this one is like kind of hilarious to me. So that's a recent finish. Have I got any others to share today? I do have some kind of scattered around the house, but not on hand, so I'll share those another day. I do have, surprise, it's a knitting finish. I don't quite even know how to share this. This is a shawl that I made using yarn that I dyed myself. It's all plant dye. So there's vegetables, there's fruit, there's tea, there's random leaves, flowers, all kinds of stuff. I love this thing so much. So this pattern was called Shifting Stripes, I believe, from Yarn Tree. I will put the actual name and link in the description box. Yeah, I had actually started knitting this as a sweater. I was kind of dyeing the yarn as I went and like knitting the sweater as I went. I've never knit a sweater before. That's why I started learning how to knit when I was 11, because I hated to shop. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna make my own clothes. That didn't go great. It's been what 17 years and I still have not knit a sweater. Have knit other accessories, but sweater is still on my list. I frogged it, clearly. I just wasn't happy with the color scheme. The order, like everything I dyed, I was like, I kind of know how this is gonna look, but I don't really know. It's all an experiment. So it was a lot of like oranges and pinks together, which is not really my preference. So this I kind of did vaguely in a rainbow, starting with purple, moving to blue, and I had like a neutral in between blue, a lot of greens. We have some yellows, orange, red, pink, fading back into like purple and then blue again. I added, so you can see there's like these bands of color. There were like 2 more bands of color after this final one. I did both of those and then just kept going, and I used like all the scrap yarn I had left just for a little bit of fun. But yeah, this is super warm. It's been like the ends have been trimmed and woven in as needed. But it needs to be blocked, and I don't currently have like the appropriate accoutrement to do that. So for now, we just enjoy it being really short in the back and just admire the colors. Oh my god, it's so cozy. The yarn is from the Fiberists. I believe the color is diamond. It's just a white. And I purchased that yarn because at the time it was like local to me where I was living, and it was from a yarn shop that was also local to me. I since have had to order directly from the Fiberist due to a move, but wanted to have like consistent yarn for this project. I've used other yarn from them that they dyed, and some other yarn that I dyed with not plant fabrics, just with some like jacquard dye. And I've loved all of everything I've worked with from them, and their customer service, like I've never had a problem with them. But every time I order, they send me like a little thank you email. Which it's like in addition to the confirmation order or email, there's like another email that's like, hey, thanks for ordering from us. And that just feels so sweet. So I like that. And I like this little shawl. This got me out of kind of a no knitting funk that I had been in for a while. I like knitting a lot, and I used to like it a lot more. I got kind of jaded with how pricey some of the materials were, and I was just kind of feeling like, well, all this stuff kind of already exists somewhere. I can go buy it, so what's the point? Which is silly, because you can't buy things with love made in them. I'm trying to process that phrase a little bit, but it's fine. Basically, homemade is just so much more special than something that you can buy in a store if you have the means to do so. And I'm learning to appreciate that again. I can't remember where I read this, but it was something saying like knitting is really punk because you're in control of how you're more in control of like how the garment or whatever you're making is created, from like where you source the materials to how you design it, or like changes you make. And like I thought that was a really cool take. So you can kind of like remove yourself from the I don't know, like fast fashion sort of whatever industry that's out there. You're in control. You do you. Okay, now I'm getting warm. So that's that one. And yeah, I don't have any, well, it's staring at me. I do have one other knitting project I'm working on that I don't really, this got me back into knitting. So as someone who joined TikTok and is a crafter, I was inundated with Harry Styles cardigan videos. I do not care about Harry Styles. I don't know much about him. I have some opinions, but I don't really care about him in the grand scheme of things. Loved his cardigan, the J.W. Anderson cardigan, and was like, I want to make that. So I did go to Michael's and purchase all of the yarn for it in like November, and I have a bag of some of the panels knitted up, but yeah, the rest, I don't know when I'm gonna get back to it. I don't really want to wear it, so that's a problem. So if you are a Harry Styles fan, I mean, and you have no deadline for when you want a sweater, a cardigan, and your expectations are low, let me know. I do kind of have this this sort of idea that Julia Nicely, I never remember. Sorry. She's a big One Direction Harry Styles fan, and we both are working on the same Sal. She's the only FlossTuber I've seen who's working on it, so I'm kind of like, well, we have that connection. Maybe she would want a cardigan, but we're not friends yet, so I will not offer that to her at this time. But if you're watching, Julie, let me know if you want a Harry Styles cardigan. You got dibs, because I love your videos and I love your Talavera Sampler Sal. I will show that now because I haven't shown you any of the whips I'm working on, my works in progress. So this is a Sal, a stitch along, that is being hosted by Linens and Threads. They are based in Australia, I believe, and they release a new chunk every month. It's a monochromatic pattern, so you can choose what you want to add to it or how you want to do your color scheme. And May has just been released. I haven't started May, haven't finished March. I'll just show you. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay. So as you can see, it's these 3 columns and these like tile-y things, and it's Talavera is a pottery technique that's I think they said it's from like Mexico and Spain. So excuse me. So these are sort of the colors that I could find online in my stash. These colors are actually from a like multi-jumbo pack thing of Prism, which you can also get at Michael's if you're on a budget, and I really like it. I think it's floss for like friendship bracelets technically, which I'm not opposed to, but it's really nice. Like, I feel like sometimes DMC can be kind of, is soft the right word? It like can fray if you like frog it too many times. I frogged it. Like, I don't always know the color scheme I'm gonna go with when I do this, so I frog like each of these tiles and sometimes these columns, not like the whole thing, but like when I start and I put colors together just to see how they look. Each of these has been frogged at least partially once, and I can reuse the floss just fine. It's not a problem. But yeah, May is gonna go here. I have to decide how I want to do the colors. I usually like to wait a little bit to see how other people are kind of like positioning their colors, and then I draw inspiration from that. So this is on a 36 count linen called Platinum from Picture This Plus. And then again, these colors are from a Prism pack. They don't have numbers or names. They are just so. So yeah, I gotta do this other column, which was one of the March releases. And then this other little tile-y bit. But I love it. This is one of those where if I just like am in the zone, I don't need to think about it. It's fun. And this is the one that Jay Nicely is also stitching. So very cool to see someone else's progress on this, because I'm not in like the Facebook group, or there's like limited posts on Instagram. Okay, so the next whip I have, oh, this one's fun. So I have a wish list on 123 Stitch, as many of us may have. and I noticed that one of my pieces was on sale. They had like a Amish theme sale, or their patterns that were Amish themed were on sale one day. And some of those patterns were on my wish list. So I was like, oh, let me scoop those up. I then proceeded to explore the rest of this designer's patterns and found the birth sampler that my grandmother had made for me when I was just a little baby. So that's a pattern that was published originally in, I want to say like 86 or 89. So well before I was, well, not that long before I was born, but like a few years. And it's still being published. So that, first of all, to me was like, what? Because a lot of patterns from like the 80s and 90s, even like early 2000s, that I want to stitch at least, are out of print. So, yeah, if anybody has a copy of Blackened Sky by the Primitive Needle, or anything by the Good Housewife that you want to give up, hi. Just kidding. I have my eBay watch thing enabled. Anyway, so I just thought it was cool that this designer had been on my wish list. It went on sale, and then also, like, my grandmother had done one of their patterns a long time ago. I have it hanging up. I don't know if you can see it. Boop! There it is, and it's far away enough that you can't see my personal information. Excellent. Great. So this is the pattern that I am stitching. It's called Farmer's Market, and I got it because I love those quilts. I love patterns that have quilts in them. I have never made a quilt. I've knitted kind of. I have never made a quilt. I don't ever really want to make a quilt. And we're back. Sometimes when I film a photo booth, it freezes randomly, and that's super fun. Anyway, I was talking about Farmer's Market by Told in a Garden. I didn't even say the name of the designer initially. So I really like the quilts in this, and I bought quite a few of the designer's other patterns as well. So what I have so far, oh my, got a string attached. This is what I have. I have the barn, I have the tree, I have some of the quilts. I have this little lady over here, or a person in an apron and a dress. I have more quilts, and I think those are part of some boxes or cages or something for the little animals that they're selling. This is, you may recognize 36 count platinum from Picture This Plus. This is the bottom of my Talavera piece. I was so excited because I wanted a new start recently, and I was looking at the dimensions for some of the new patterns I had purchased, and thinking about the fabrics I had and like what would work. And I was like, oh, I think that'll fit. That's cool. I had also just driven by an estate sale like days earlier that was outside, so I felt like comfortable going and perusing. I felt like safe. And I got a stack of frames for like $6 or something. Two of which are about the same size, but they look handmade. Also will fit this piece perfectly, and it's this like cool wooden frame. So I don't know, the stars were just aligning for this piece. I had half of the flosses already already in my stash for other patterns I want to do. And actually, I think this is hilarious. I wonder if I have them all. Okay. So this will give you a sense of the kind of like palette I'm into. Get some of these out. La la la. I don't even know if this is going to be interesting. I thought it was hilarious. So these are kind of the colors I already had in stash. Like just look at those compared to the ones that I had to purchase to make up the rest of the pattern. Bam! Purples and pinks and I don't like these. Some of them I like, but like if I was like going to buy a floss just to buy floss, I would choose like none of these colors. But I mean, it's fun to like stitch outside my comfort zone a little bit. It's not even that like outside my comfort zone. These quilts are very colorful, and I do want to have like a complete DMC set eventually. I'm not like actively working towards that. I just, as I add new works in progress to my rotation. I don't have a rotation. To my I don't know, the things I'm working on. I think it's fun to like add a new floss. And because I like having them to reference if I'm looking at another pattern I want to start, and I can like see, you know, how it would look on a piece of fabric where maybe that color is not necessarily called for, or I want to swap it out for like a fancy floss or something. I can see like how close it is. So I want it for like reference purposes. Okay, speaking of fancy floss, all right, this is in my laundry basket, which is not, they're clean clothes. I was bringing everything upstairs. Okay. Speaking of fancy floss, I am working on a piece called Welsh Dresser by Galore Cross Stitch Designs, and I love it very, 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 very much. I really like her pattern, House of Christmas, which I have not stitched yet. I have purchased it. I fully intend to stitch it eventually, but Welsh Dresser is a pattern I purchased to stitch for my mom. So if you are a family member who has somehow stumbled upon my video, you're welcome to watch, unless you're my mom, in which case stop. And if you know my mom, please don't say anything, because this is going to be a very big surprise for her. The floss that I'm using is this it's so good. I love this floss so much. This is a I think it was called like Magical Teal or something, from Amaranthine Stitches. She's on Etsy, and I go on her Etsy and I just drool. I've only ever bought this. It came with like some other blues too. It was like a pack. And she hasn't released any other teals since, so I don't know. She has a lot of gorgeous turquoises, a lot of like browns that her green, if you want some fancy floss, I would check her out. She is incredible. She's also like local-ish to me, which I appreciate. So, yeah, just beautiful, beautiful. And I can show you how it is stitching up on this piece. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So this is an 18 count Aida. I think it's Vigart, maybe like antique white or something, just like basic. And yeah, look at that. Oh my gosh. It's so great. So on these, well, there's only one shelf so far. There will be like another shelf in the middle, and then like this part. There are like plates and tea kettle or tea pots, some other things displayed. I will stitch this in a different color, probably from her shop as well. There's a pack that has some teals and browns and grays that I have my eye on. I think I want to go with gray. My mom has a secretary, not like the person, but like the piece of furniture, that was like a kind of a family heirloom. It was very dark wood. She painted it, more or less this color on the inside where the doors open up. and then the outside is this like cool gray color. So this is going to be sort of an inversion of that. So the outside will be this beautiful tealy turquoise, and then all the little things that are on the shelves are going to be, I think gray is what I'm going to go for, but still this like awesome variegated stuff. So yeah, this has been a bit of a focus piece for me for the past month. It's really fun. It is so fun. It's got like this kind of thing I can just do mindlessly. I do love just like stitching lines or filling in. I stitch in hand using the sewing method, so there's not a lot of like trying to like reach over a Q-snap or a hoop or something. It's just so that's really satisfying to me, I think. There's that like repetition in there, but then at the same time it has these little places where I have to pay attention and challenge myself a little bit, so it's really fun. I'm going to see if my dad wants to do a little bit of a joint gift with me, and he can pay for the framing. My mom is very particular about frames. In fact, this piece, you want to hear some family drama? My grandma had gotten that piece framed. You can't see it from here. There's like a triple mat on that thing because it was the 90s. But my grandma like went to a frame shop. She had them frame it, and like they worked really hard to pick out the perfect frame for the piece. And then my mom painted it. So I'm not gonna buy a frame because I have no idea what she's gonna want. I know she likes the process of like choosing things like that. Oh, that's cute. These bird marks on my ironing board. Anywho, so that's that piece. I freaking love it. I freaking love the floss. I love the pattern. I love this Aida. I love it. It's really easy to stitch on. I started out stitching on, it was still 18 count Aida. This is what I used for like 2 years, but it was from Michaels, and it might have been loops and threads, but it is super, super stiff. And I was stitching in hand. I had tried using a hoop, but I was like, this is like already nothing. It's like holding its shape already. I don't think I need a hoop. So I didn't know stitching in hand was a thing. I thought I was like breaking the rules, or was like doing something that would like damage my, I don't know, my phalanges. And so I'm like stitching in hand. I learned about the sewing method, tried incorporating that. It was really difficult to do on that Aida. I have no problem doing it on here because it's so soft. Yeah, 18 count Aida is my favorite. 14 count, like this stuff was really challenging for me because the holes are so big, and they're like, there's like the hole, but then around it, there's like not loose threads, but you can't see that. This is a freaking webcam, not a Canon T3i or whatever you people are using these days. I don't know. I just kept splitting it, which I didn't like. So, but this 18 count, perfect. Gosh, is that everything? I think those are all my whips and my finishes. So something that I want to incorporate into my floss tubes, I will do like former finishes because I do have some finishes like lying around, as I said, that I will share later. But I also want to show family finishes. So I come from a fairly crafty family. I don't know if they would describe themselves that way, but I want to share things that my family has made because I like that sort of multi-generational thing. You might, if you know this book, this is White Teeth by Zadie Smith. It's about 2 or 3 families. Wow. I can't even remember. I think it's 3. Yeah. 2, 3. There's a few families. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's about families throughout some multiple generations. It's one of my favorite books, despite me not being able to tell you how many families it's about. But I like things passed down over time. I just think that's interesting as a theme. So what I will share today is this little hat my grandma made me. One year for Christmas, she made all the grandkids, she knit little hats for them. So, I used to have really long hair, and it made it very difficult for this to stay on my head. So I didn't really wear it. I've had this since high school. But now my hair is very short, and so it sticks. It fits really well, and because my hair is so short, I'll show you, it's very short. So it is cold often. So I really like this hat because it sticks on my head and it keeps me warm, and I can finally wear a beanie like all those people I wanted to look like growing up. The cool kids. So yeah, that's my family finish for this episode. All right, cool. I think that's everything. I have so many more things I'm excited to show you and talk about, and I appreciate you staying throughout this time. Ask me any questions. You can follow me on Instagram, again, at VeggieStitches. I'll leave links to all these patterns and things below. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.